haven't been spotting as many little free libraries lately, but I haven't really been looking for them either. What do we got? William Faulkner. Some more Faulkner. This one is at Rainey Park. And don't remember last time I was down here, but it's been some months, I would guess. What's this? That is some part of a vehicle, and I'm drawing a blank. I guess that's the exhaust. I used to see all kinds of shopping carts from Costco out here, but I think some volunteer group banded together and made a concerted effort to, what do they call it? Is the word trawl? Like comb the seabed for junk and garbage. And there's Roosevelt Island. I wonder if the girl problem sculpture is still out there. I really like that, but it's just so hard to get to. I mean, it's not hard to get to if you have the passion to get there, but it is time consuming. I took today off of work because I'm finally moving onward and upward at the company. I guess I shouldn't say finally. I've only been there a year and a half, but I was told about 6 months ago that I was hired for a new role and that I'd be starting in 2 weeks. But nothing ever moves quickly in the world of work. The world of work. So it was supposed to have started 6 months ago. It was going to start on Tuesday. And if it works out, if I don't hate it, and if they don't hate me, I might end up being at this company for a long time. Maybe for the duration. All the way into retirement and pension and all that good stuff. I'm not sure I want that, but it is hard to sort of untangle yourself from a job when, it's a good employer. They don't play games. There's no surprises. The job is what they say it is. And it's just a good place to work. I just wish I connected with more of my co-workers. I really haven't made a single, intellectual connection. I've made one friend, and she's pretty cool, but put it this way, I was talking to like 3 or 4 people, and I used the word schadenfreude, and everybody looked at me like, what the hell did he just say? What language is he speaking? get wet. I have to say that my spirit in putting these videos together is not what it used to be. Now that I know my biggest fan is no longer watching. Of course, maybe that's exactly what he's doing. From wherever the soul goes. It really is just a sudden silence in my life. And honestly, it's one that I never expected to experience. Christ, I imagine him speaking at my funeral, or him writing my obituary. I never expected to be writing his. I mean, his mother lived to be 102, I think. And it was always sort of I guess, somewhat macabre joke.
So, the next time...
When I told him, with your genes, you're going to outlive all of us drunks and ne'er-do-wells. But it just came along so quickly. They gave him 6 months, and he didn't even get 2.5. Or 1.5. I mean, what am I saying? They gave him 6 months, he didn't even get 2. He was gone after about 6 weeks of the diagnosis. I love this staircase, I always have. I call it the erotic staircase. Somebody needs to mow the lawn. The trees here are quite lovely though. I'm gonna dig it up. There used to be a payphone down here. Payphone that the coin box had been torched, and obviously it had been discarded as evidence of a crime. Although for some reason it didn't seem obvious to me until like years after I first encountered it. Because I was always like, why is a payphone sitting at the bottom of the river, or in the river? And then I noticed that the coin box had been torched. It seemed so obvious. There used to be a bunch of payphone companies on the other side of the street, outside of this park. Well, not a bunch. There was I think 2 or 3, and they all, like a lot of the payphone guys, they got into ATMs. And in fact, a lot of the exact spots where payphones used to be are now taken by independently owned ATMs. And some of the other stuff the payphone guys got into was air machines at gas stations, and they got into laundry and tchotchke charms machines. And I mean, except for ATMs, it's like, just think anything coin fed, because that was what they knew. That's the kind of stuff they got into. They also got into like video games, those kind you find at the pub with what is it called, the Mega Touch, or there's a newer brand, IVF or IVR or something like that. But that's where your payphone guys are now.
I actually enjoy these little walking trips.
One time I was at this park and there was nobody here. It was a weekday. And over by one of those trees, I spotted a dead chicken next to a pile of charcoal. And there happened to be a couple of park rangers sitting in their truck over by this by this little building. So I went over and told them about it. And I said, sorry to bother you, but there's like a dead chicken rooster or whatever the difference is. They said they'd go pick up, and I happened to be walking past later when they got to the site, and they were saying it was that they had only been working there a couple of weeks, and this was like the 5th dead sacrificed chicken they had found. And that's I think he said Santeria came out here and did their sacrifices. I can't find the sign that it has the whole story about why this is called Rainey Park, but it was named for Thomas Rainey, who had the original idea to build a bridge from Queens to Manhattan, and they were going to build it somewhere up in this area, up in this part of Queens, I think. But they ended up building another bridge under a different project, different developers, and that became the Queensboro Bridge. But Rainey wanted to build the bridge somewhere like up around here, and that's why they named this park after him. I think that's right. I could look it up, but I'm just feeling lackadaisical as hell. And the Q103, that might be the only bus around here that I've never used. That gets you to Hunters Point via Long Island City. Now this, my friend, this is one of those insignificant seeming series of removed pipes or whatever. This used to be a payphone. And this is where I did an interview for the St. Pete Times. And that was not long after the New York Times piece, the first one. I mean, the second one. The second New York Times piece was the front page one, and I got a lot of follow-up inquiries after that one, but I ignored most of them. But the St. Pete Times was a good paper. And of course I grew up in Tampa, and Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater are often lumped together as one super city. It was a good piece, though. Although I did feel uncomfortable standing here for as long as I had to do the interview. I called collect. Yeah, so ATM World is here, and Fam Capital. And I don't know if they're actually the same company or what's the deal, but this used to be two separate payphone companies that inhabited this space. But ATMs is one of the things they got into. So you used to, behind this door, that when they'd open it, that you'd often see a whole bunch of payphones. And for a while you'd see a bunch of ATMs, but I don't know what's behind here now, if anything. Just a little piece of ephemeral payphone history for you. Now, I was told that as recently as pandemic, there was a working payphone inside this place. I did verify that there was that the number that was assigned to that payphone was alive and did go to modem the way a payphone would. I just never understood why a company like this would have a payphone inside its place of business, unless for some reason they have strict rules about no cell phone usage or something, or no personal phone usage on the company network. But it's kind of hard to imagine why they had a payphone as late as 2020 or 2021. And here again you see some metal spikes where a payphone used to be, and I know I have a photo of this one somewhere, but I have never been able to find it when I tried to. But this phone left a lot of detail behind. There's a screw. Then there's this. This was probably a brace that held the metal pipe that covered the landline, and there's another brace. And then you can see where the landline is still there, still dangling, waiting for somebody to talk to it. So I'm sure the line is dead, but in theory you could resurrect it and put another payphone here. Just what the world needs, right? But this is a pretty. Oh, by the way, this is what happens when they don't do street cleaning. And in fact, it gets a lot worse than this. But this is one of the streets where they don't do it, or rather, they don't have alternate side parking. So this is one of the streets where people will park for years. I mean, seriously, I've seen it happen. And when they obviously can't sweep the street if there's a car on it, and so this is what happens when a car parks on a spot for a long period of time. And who knows what happened to these cars? Maybe they got hauled off for being abandoned or whatever. But yeah, streets can get pretty. I mean, I've seen a lot worse than this, but streets can get pretty gross when the street sweepers are not allowed to do what they're supposed to do. So that's a classic case of a street sweeper not being able to sweep the streets because all these people are just parked here. I was going to say, like, if another hazard of keeping your car parked in one spot for a long time is the garbage accumulates underneath. And with garbage, of course, comes rats. And I haven't heard about it as much this year, but last summer I heard about like whole streets where there'd be like dozens of cars parked and every single engine got eaten out by rats. And there's like really nothing you can do about it. You just have to replace the whole fucking engine. And there's virtually no auto insurance that covers that kind of thing. Covers rat damage. I mean, something like that could happen in a parked indoor garage just as well as out on the street, but it does seem like more of a hazard out on the street when you take into account garbage piling up under cars because of the street sweeping not being done. I don't know why I'm getting so worked up about this. I don't even have a car anymore. I'm just wandering around this part of Long Island City, Astoria, Long Island City, or as I like to combine the two areas and call the whole thing Ass Lick. ASLIC. This part of it that I've been around really has not changed much. I mean, it's still kind of a mix of Nowheresville, and if there's been any change, it's that there's a bunch of hotels. But I don't know. There's really no reason for me to come over here except to enjoy the blight. And listen to the birds chirp. I don't know why, I just thought there was something kind of amusing about this formation of I think these are ice cream trucks without any I believe these don't open for non-professionals. Well, okay. I am a professional, but at what? But yeah, this is where ice cream trucks go to hibernate. Yeah, like I say, this area is about the same as it's been since I've been here, which is well past 20 years now, I guess. I don't really care about years anymore. I don't really think about them. So when I say I haven't had the spirit to do these videos like I did before, I have actually been making the basic recordings, but I just can't seem to find the joy that it takes to put this shit together and put it in front of people for their whatever you want to call it, edification, amusement, bemusement. Or just to give somebody a reason to ask, why would anybody do this? Why would anybody take time out of their life to piece together videos of personal details of their lives? Why would anybody do this? But anyway, one of the things that I started working on was trying to get to the bottom of what the story is behind this building. It looks to be completed, on the exterior at least, for years and years and years now. And this is not like a COVID casualty. The scaffolding has been here since long before that. And it's an interesting looking thing. I don't know what it's supposed to be. Or what, and I'd love to get a look inside too, but I don't know. Let me get a view from across the street. Yeah, that gives it a better perspective. It's supposed to be some, like a building supplies or something. It looks more like a library or or maybe a very fancy school, but it's one of the more interesting new structures to go up around here. And this area has been plagued by really hideous architecture. And I'm not sure, maybe I'm just being fooled by this one, and people look at it and think it's a joke, but I think it's pretty neat. And some of what I found about it is that it's supposed to be an expo hall, and the public would be invited in. That's why I say I want to see what it looks like inside. But it's been locked up and scaffolded up for I'm going to guess 7 or 8 years now. Whenever I come by this community refrigerator, I like to see what's in it. And I'm willing to bet you that, as usual, there's going to be nothing. Oh, wow. I swear every time I've looked in here, there's been absolutely nothing. Looks like a whole bunch of salad stuff. Well, that's good. And the freezer has a few things in it. Well, my cynicism backfired. Take what you need, share what you can. This is put out here by, I'm not sure if the Fluxus, the Flux Factory has anything to do with this, or if it just happens to be next door. I thought I saw some Flux Factory peeps putting stuff in here, but now that I say all that, where the hell is the Flux Factory? I thought they were... oh, there they are. Well, there's nothing in their coming soon window. Hell, it looks like they closed down. That's news to me. I saw a couple of exhibits here, and this doesn't look like an exhibit. If it is, it's not very clever. Well, TIL, looks like the Flux Factory moved on, or moved out, or disappeared. Now you know. Oh, I didn't realize I was recording. Well, this is interesting. This is right across the street from a homeless shelter, and you frequently see the homeless dudes hanging out here. I wonder if one of them painted this. Well, you can't say Penn Station hasn't changed. What used to feel like a dungeon or a habit trail tube now looks like this. Not bad. Yeah, this passage is still kind of like the way it used to be. I guess they're going to work on this one next, or I don't know, maybe not. Just wanted to point out that this is where some payphones used to be. And this is a pretty artless attempt at making it look like there didn't used to be anything here. I do want to see if the last working one, or that was working last maybe 2 weeks ago, I do want to see if that's still working. Yeah, I see you still got vestiges of the old habit trail tube-like structures, or whatever you want to call it, that made this place feel like you were just being buried.
For your children's safety,
I don't know.
don't allow them to play on.
But this is another row where there used to be public telephones. And again, they did replace it with an emergency phone at least. But not a very elegant job in this case. I see the handset. Okay. We have dial tone. Let's see what happens if we go. I think this didn't work last time I tried it.
Crossroads 24-hour prayer line.
It still works, but it's on the the daily prayer thing used to go to one of two destinations. It would go to a pre-recorded daily little sermon, or it would send you directly to a live person, and this one sends you to a live person, and I don't really want to do that. But it looks like the phone still works. Let me see if I'm gonna blow a day's wages. Oops. And I have a lot of change in my pocket, but no quarters. Okay. I'm just kidding about a day's wages, but sometimes it feels like it. Like I work for very little. Oh, you know what I want to do first? I always forget to do this and I always regret it. I want to see if 988 works. .988 is supposed to be the new, I mean, it is the new suicide crisis prevention. Oh wow, it does
Suicide
work.
and Crisis Lifeline. We are here to help. Para español.
Well, I'm happy to see that, I guess. My feelings about these sort of things are complicated, so don't get me started, but I'm happy to see somebody actually, I think they had to manually program the phone to do that. So that's good to see that somebody's still taking care of this thing. But now we're going to call the only number you really need to hear. The only number anybody needs. And let's just hope it works, because I was having some trouble with the PBX earlier. Aha. It works. I'm in business. I'm in business not making any money, but that's okay. I like to leave the phone there dangling in case anybody wants to pick it up and be magically transported into another audio realm. Now the Hotel Pennsylvania is coming down pretty quickly. I guess I haven't really been paying attention, but wait, that is what this is, right? I always get confused. The Hotel Pennsylvania always seems like it's in a different place every time I come by here, so maybe that's not even what this is. But oh, wait a minute. Okay, so that's definitely what this was. People make fun of me for my lack of spatial memory, but I prefer to think of it as, well, I just prefer to think that memorizing the world would make it pretty boring to be around, or to be in. But we talked about this old hotel. This is where the hacker conference used to be. What was it anyway? The Hope Conference, HOPE. Hackers of Planet Earth, I think. I never attended one, but I was invited to speak at it a number of times, but I never did. But that's enough to remind me that it bears mentioning that Mitnick is also gone. Kevin Mitnick died last week, I think. That's when I heard about it. Now, he was no hero of mine and not really a figure in my life, but we did cross paths a number of times in, I guess in the late 80s, when I was working the VMBs, as they say, the voicemail boxes, breaking into voicemail systems all over the world. And in so doing, I discovered that there were tons of other people out there doing the same thing, only they were doing things a lot worse than what I was doing. And I listened to a lot of these people talk, and I heard their tales of all the bad shit they did. And basically, I saw enough of that world to know that I didn't want to be a part of it. but I did cross paths with Mitnick once, and I forget if he went by the Condor, Professor Condor, or if he went by the Falcon or something like that. I always thought those nicknames were kind of so stupid. But when he took over, when he made his statements, he just sounded like the king. He was the king of this domain, and everybody knew it. We never interacted personally, but he was a part of that scene where I was on my way, very much on my way to getting into a lot of the same kind of trouble he got into. Only I backed out of that shit and got into plenty of trouble anyway. But my little fiasco never got the publicity that his did, and I guess for good reason. But the last time I saw him actually was just a couple months ago at work. Everybody was required to watch a cybersecurity training video. And guess who was one of the presenters in that video? It was none other than Mitnick. And I just kind of laughed because everything I know about him, he actually seemed like a pretty nice guy. He seemed like an approachable dude. And for whatever bad he may have, bad shit he might have done, I guess he came clean. So, sorry to hear he's gone, but okay, what can you do?
Help me feed my babies. Any donations, please? They might come and win, but you never know.
That's supposed to be right.
I think I pointed this out once before. But in case you missed it, you might think that 1 Fifth Avenue is the first numbered building on Fifth Avenue. Not an unreasonable assumption. But in fact, the first address is here at 1/2 Fifth Avenue. And you do gotta ask how that happened, but I mean, obviously there was nothing on this land, but when they put up 1 Fifth Avenue, I guess that's the story. You could get mathematical about it and question if 1/2 is the fraction they should have used on the odd numbered side of the street. Let's see what's on the other side. What's the first number on the other side of... Yeah, okay, the first number on the other side is what you'd expect, 2. Now in Queens, the building numbers can start at 0. There's 32-00 Northern Boulevard is a building I go past once in a while. But you don't see buildings like this. You don't see buildings in most places numbered as a 0. It's not a very prestigious sounding address. So to that point, I do have to ask would 0 have been the more appropriate address for this? Yeah, I went to school at 0 Fifth Avenue. There was one question that kept getting asked. I think it was kind of a selfish question, but at the same time, I think it deserved an answer. Why didn't he tell anybody? Why didn't he let anybody know what was happening? The only person he told, apparently, or people I should say, were his sisters and Rachel. Rachel was, I guess the one true love of his life. And perhaps the same could be said mutually. I don't know. But those are all he knew, and the reason I knew anything ahead of anybody else was just random. I happened to check onto Instagram, and because Rachel and I have corresponded a few times through the messenger thing on Instagram, virtually anything she posts now comes up number 1 on my, when I check into Instagram. And what came up one day was the fact that she was in Montana. It's not that this was a Brooklyn woman in Montana. It's that what the hell was Rachel doing in Montana when the only person she could be visiting there was Joe? And somebody had asked her, what the hell are you doing in Montana? And she said, I'm checking in on a sick friend. I'm paraphrasing it, but that's more or less what she said. And that's the only reason I knew before anybody else. So the question becomes, and then I messaged her just to confirm what I kind of suspected anyway, because I talked to him a couple of months earlier and he sounded off. It was just something wasn't right. Hard to put a finger on it precisely, but anyway, the question becomes, why didn't he tell anybody? He didn't want to spend the rest of his life fielding a conga line of well-wishers and people calling just to pour out their love for him when there was nothing that didn't make any difference. A different personality type might have been different. Would certainly have handled it differently. A different type of personality would have used this "I'm dying" thing as an opportunity to bring attention to themselves and to bring on the heaps of sympathy and the heaps of whatever. That's not who Joe was. He didn't want to be irritated to his dying day by this kind of shit. I totally get it. I would be the same way. That kind of outpouring of sympathy and I don't know what you want to call it. I think it's he would have considered it fake, phony, and a fraud.